Welcome. My name's Arna, and I wanted to show you today how to do inventory transfers on the POS. Now, an inventory transfer is a form of inventory movement. Inventory movements are used to track the movement of inventory items from one location to the other. Inventory movements are fundamental to managing stock, doing accounting, taxes, and compliance. Inventory movements are either transactions, which would be purchases or sales, or inventory transactions, which would be adjustments, disposal, restock, and what we're talking about today, transfers. So let me walk you through the steps that we're going to be showing you here. The first is that we're going to have two iPads. We're going to have one in the tasting room and one in the warehouse. So welcome tasting room, welcome warehouse. On the right hand side is Brandy, on the left is Arna. Next, we're going to do a simple POS to POS transfer from the warehouse to the tasting room. And then we're going to go look in Manager to see what happened, what this movement looks like. The next we're going to do is we're going to create an inventory transaction in Manager, duplicating the previous simple transfer, but this is being done to show you the difference. The first part of the difference will be that in on the POS we're going to do an approval of this transfer. Then we're going to sign that it was picked up at the warehouse, and then we're going to sign that the item was received at the Napa Valley tasting room. And finally, then we're going to examine the movement in Manager like we did just before. So let me bring up the POSs, and the first thing I want you to note is that in the Napa location, the inventory menu looks completely different than it does in the warehouse. And if I open up the Cabernet here, we've got a couple items there. In the Syrah, I got a couple items there. The Pinot, got some items there. And then over here, tasting, and then some red wines and glasses of wine, which obviously I don't have in the warehouse. But what I wanted to demonstrate is these can be completely different. Now, how is that done? Let's go back to Manager and look at our inventory stock. So this is the stock that I have set up on the POS, and there are the headings. And then I'm going to look at the products at the warehouse, and you can see they have completely different headings. So that's how that's done. Let's go back to our POSs and let's do a transfer. So in the warehouse, I'm going to click on Tools. And then there's a blue button there that says Inventory Transfer. And I'm going to open up, we're going to just transfer one single item, which is this cab, and let's just transfer two of them. And I have to pick a location. I'll transfer them to Napa, and then hit the green button here, transfer. Now transferred. And if I look at my Cabernet the quantity has gone down by 2 here. And if I go over to the red wine, the Cabernet has gone up by 2 there. Let me highlight it for you. You can see $9.95 and $11.58. So let's go take a look in Manager. First of all, a transaction, inventory transaction appears. And this transaction, inventory transaction I should say, is for 2 bottles of the cab, and all the fields are done by one person, Brandy, who operated it from the warehouse. There's no signatures. It all happened on the same date. So that's a simple transfer. And we can look at it from different perspectives here in views. There's a status view. Here's a view of the inventory transfer of the 2 and the movement detail that it moved from the warehouse to Napa. See, from warehouse to Napa. Then let's have a look at the inventory. So this was the stock before we made the transfer. Now we're going to refresh the screen, and you can see that went up by 2 and that went down by 2. The warehouse went down by 2 and Napa went up by 2. And now let's hop over to our stock, and I'm going to pick a view that I set up here that shows the movement detail. So this is all the gory details of just that one simple transfer. All right, let's do it another way. This time we're going to create a request in Manager. We're going to request a transfer from the warehouse to Napa. We'll go over and specify what it is we want. We want this product, and we're going to go with a case this time. I'll hit save, and here we have our request sitting here in a requested state. Now let's go back to the POS, into the warehouse. So in the warehouse, I'm going to click on Inventory Transactions. So there we have it. It's been requested, and Brandy's logged in here as a manager. And let's just, before we do that, let's go over to the other POS and see that it's also sitting here. There you go. It can be proved on either side, but on the left-hand POS, it would require a manager's PIN number, and the right one, Brandy is a manager. So we're going to click on Approve. So now it's approved. Its state moved to approved. Will also be in that state on the other machine. Now let's have a look at the Manager. So you can see here now Brandy has approved it. See her name here and a date. So this doesn't have to happen on the same day. Now let's go back to the POSs, and we are now going to sign that it's been picked up. So on the right hand one, the warehouse, I'm going to click on sign for pickup and identify myself. I'm John, and I need to sign. And now it is in transfer to Napa. If I go back to the manager, you'll see the change here. So it shows that John signed for it. Now let's go to Napa and let us sign for receiving it. So maybe it's Paul who's doing the receiving here, and then Paul's going to sign it. Now it's complete. Transfer has taken place. If I go to the wine, you'll see that the number has gone up by a dozen. And if I go over here, we're going to see that the cab has gone down by a dozen. Let's hop over to manager. Let's refresh this one first. You can see now Paul's name is on it, a date's on it. So the big difference between the simple transfer and the one activated in manager is all these additional audit points that you have, and of course it can happen over a period of time. Now let's have a look at the stock for this location. Look at the numbers there, 1146,995, and they just changed by a dozen. Let's have a look at the movement. So we had a movement, a total of 14 in and out of Napa in the warehouse. The detail shows like this because it was consisted of a 12 and a 2. And we can now look at the inventory stock window and look at the detail of all this. And this is the gory details of all these adjustments, how they actually take place. So this is the definite audit trail of these movements. And then you have all these views into the activity. And here, that's the inventory transfers today for this one item. And again, the movement details. Well, that concludes what I wanted to show you today. Inventory management, an interesting subject. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you the next time.